Greetings Far Cry fans, it is our Eurogamer's Ian Higton, and just like I promised in my last Easter eggs video, I'm back with even more Far Cry 6 secrets for you to enjoy. In the following video, I'll be showing off another 17 Easter eggs that I've found during my time in Yara. So if in-jokes, movie references and video game secrets are your bag, there'll be plenty in here to keep you entertained. Be warned though, the last Easter egg on this list does contain a spoiler for one of the game's later boss fights. I'll give you fair warning before I start to spill the beans on that one though, so you should be able to watch the rest of the video in relative safety.
Welcome to Libertad, Danny.
But before I kick this list off proper, it's time for a quick Corrections Corner. Thanks to everyone in the comments for my last video who pointed out that Agent Willis Huntley isn't actually dead after all. I'd have known that too if I'd simply looked in the bin behind where I found his dog tag and read this note that says, "To an old friend, you fucked us over good in Honduras. I like that in a man. Have this token of my affection. One day I'll come get it off your corpse. W. Huntley." Also, to everyone who messaged me about the mysterious urn listed in this item catalogue, well, you've earned my respect. More than a lot of you think that this urn is probably the same one that contained the remains of AJ Gale's mother in Far Cry 4, which is something that I'd originally thought about but then discounted as the description on the note here says that the urn's inscription was illegible, and as you can see here, the inscription on the actual urn is totally legible. But by far the most popular opinion in the comments of my last video was that said urn was meant to be hers. So I'm going to go with you lot on that one. Alrighty, the first proper point on this list is a perfect example of an Easter egg that doesn't really reference anything, but instead is just the level designers having a bit of fun with the assets available to them. During the opening of the game, as Danny and Lita do a fat legger towards the escape boat, they slide down this zipline with a particularly grim view below it. Now, because you're meant to be running for your life here, most people will probably not have stopped at the bottom to have a little look around. But if you did, well, you might have seen this weird wooden cat model standing next to a computer mouse, which is obviously meant to be a cat and mouse joke. This isn't the only immovable moggy you'll find in Far Cry 6 though, as Twitter user Rain_Bloodshed pointed me in the direction of this terrific trio. You can find these three cat models staring out to sea on the northern tip of Esperanza, right next to where Danny and Lita climbed on board the escape boat at the start of the game. Well, I say those cats are staring out to sea, but perhaps they're actually staring at their handiwork after firing a cannon at that FND boat down there. Oh, good kitties.
The soldados just moved one of their largest choppers there.
In my last Far Cry 6 Easter eggs video, I said that it wasn't possible to physically see Herc in Yara, and as far as I know, that point is still true. However, after making my way to the Valor Prehistorico FND base in southern Conuco, I stumbled across this giant billboard that features an image of one of Herc's ancient ancestors, Urki. Urki, if you didn't know, was one of the many mission-giving NPCs in the prehistoric spin-off game Far Cry Primal, in which Urki tried to make himself extinct in a variety of slapstick ways. I've got a couple of movie references on the way for you next, starting with this quick nod to one of the most well-known war movies of all time. This Full Metal Jacket weapon charm comes with the description, "What's your major malfunction?" which is of course the famous shouty quote from Sergeant Hartman in the movie Full Metal Jacket.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
Far Cry 6's developers weren't content with having just one film quote in the game though, because they've also turned a side mission into a full-on tribute to the movie Aliens. In the spur-of-the-moment mission, you'll need to infiltrate a creepy bunker that's full of skinned chickens and boxes of eggs, before heading down into the depths of an old cavern in order to retrieve some cockfighting spurs from a super-powered roid rage rooster. On the way towards this confrontation, you'll hear Danny and Elvis talking over the phone, and during their conversation, they utter a bunch of lines that are clearly based upon quotes from James Cameron's action-packed Alien sequel.
Elvis, what the fuck is this place? It's like I took an express elevator to hell.
I told you, that rat fuck son of a bitch Ramon is sick in the head. It fuck his abuela over a goddamn percentage. You surprised?
I have to get out of here. If roosters start coming out of the walls, it's game over, man.
Those quotes aren't the only reference here though, because once you reach the bottom of the cavern, you'll encounter these weird rock formations with nests on top, which are obviously meant to resemble the alien eggs that facehuggers emerge from in the film. And the endless waves of angry roosters that come out of the goddamn walls afterwards? Well, they're obviously meant to be either aliens or facehuggers, so make sure you get out of there quickly before it's game over, man. Game over.
One fight!
From one incredibly angry cock to a parade of pesky peckers next, as we check out the contenders for Far Cry 6's controversial cockfighting minigame. Most of these crazy cluckers can be unlocked by finding crates hidden around the game world, but these next two Easter eggs need to be unlocked by redeeming things from, Ubisoft Connect? Gross. Thankfully, it's free to get your hands on these feathered fighters, so as long as you're signed into Ubisoft Connect, you'll be able to download two separate duos, both of whom are inspired by famous fighting game characters. First up, there's El Dragon and El Rival, who, going by the colourings of their feathers, are based on Ryu and Ken from the Street Fighter series. As you can see from the descriptions, these combat cocks also have similar personalities to the Street Fighter legends they're impersonating. El Dragon, for instance, is a wandering martial artist, just like Ryu, and his name, El Dragon, is a play on Ryu's Dragon Punch move. El Rival's bushy blonde hairdo and red coat makes him the spitting image of Ken Masters, who in Street Fighter lore trained with the same master as Ryu and is his best friend, but more importantly, is also his rival.
Round one fight!
The second pair of bonus birds from Ubisoft Connect are called Toasty and Frosty, and if you've played any of the Mortal Kombat games, you'll immediately recognise them as tributes to fan-favourite characters Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Toasty, who is also named after one of Scorpion's finishing moves, and also maybe Mortal Kombat's famous Toasty Easter egg, is described as having a rage that burns like hellfire, and that he also invites his foes to come closer, a reference to Scorpion's "Get over here" move. Frosty's description states that this fighter's attacks strike his enemies cold, which is, of course, a nod towards Sub-Zero's freeze abilities in Mortal Kombat. Talk about being cold-cocked. I think that these are some of the best and most detailed Easter eggs in the game, but hopefully all these tributes from Ubisoft are legally distinct enough, because otherwise the lawyers from Capcom and Warner might just rock up and finish them!
A new champion! Felicidades!
This next video game themed Easter egg is less blatant, but it still absolutely rocks. To find it, all you need to do is head to this location on a small island above Aguas Lindas, and the best way to see this is to airdrop in and then parachute down. As you float towards the floor, look out for this weird mound, which, as you can see here, contains a circle of stones. Once you get up close and personal, you'll notice that this stone circle has a gap in it, and, because of that, fans of the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild might recognise a similarity between this and the unfinished Korok stone circle found near Aquamay Bridge in central Hyrule. Now, you might be thinking to yourselves, Ian, that's a bit of a stretch, it's just some rocks, but bear with me on this one because, in Breath of the Wild, if you explore the bushes just next to the stone circle, you'll find another rock which you can then pick up and place in the gap of the circle to summon a Korok. Well, there are no Koroks in Far Cry 6, but if you were in any doubt that this was a Breath of the Wild Easter egg, just walk from Far Cry's stone circle to these nearby bushes, and you'll find the circle's lost stone, lying exactly where you can find it in Breath of the Wild. Sadly, there's no way to move this stone, and believe me, I've tried. But at least that means you won't run the risk of accidentally summoning a Stalmoblin like I did when I captured this Breath of the Wild footage. Run away! Up next is an Easter egg that's been suggested to me by a few people, but it's one that I'm not really sure about, so this one may be open to interpretation. Okay, so sometimes when a friendly NPC has a new location to show you, they'll be holding this map here. It's wrapped in this kind of army green coloured binder type thing, and it shows a portion of a map of Yara. Now, according to some people, this is a bit of a reference to Far Cry 2's map, which is also handheld. It's a kind of green-beige camo colour, and it also shows portions of Far Cry 2's maps, depending on where you're looking at it at the time. Now, while theoretically you could argue that Far Cry 6's NPC maps may act the same way as Far Cry 2's do if you were to hold one, and by that I mean magically scrolling as you move even though it's a sheet of paper, I'm leaning towards this being more of a similarity rather than a direct reference. But what do you lot at home think? In my previous Far Cry 6 Easter eggs video, I showed you quite a few Assassin's Creed references that were hidden in notes around the map. But this next Easter egg is a physical one that revolves around that oh-so-famous Assassin's Creed trope of jumping from the top of something tall and landing in a bale of hay. You'll be able to try this one out for yourself pretty early on in the game, as it's found here on Isla Santuario, the game's tutorial island. Head along to this area and you'll spot a pile of hay lying on the floor next to this old tower. Have you guessed what you need to do yet? If not, perhaps this familiar eagle cry that you can hear when you look over the edge will help jog your memory. Yup, that eagle noise is the same noise that you'll hear in Assassin's Creed games when you jump off of a high platform after synchronizing with your surroundings. Once you've heard that noise, all you need to do then is jump off into the hay bales, which, just like in Assassin's Creed, should break your foot. Oh, okay, I guess Far Cry is a little bit more realistic in that respect then. Res, please! I'm surprised I missed this next Easter egg, as it can be found right next to the bunker where you find the big Starlink secret and the item catalogue note. Just in front of the entrance to Bunker 1, Bunker 2 is the one you need to enter for the other Eggos, by the way, you'll see this burning structure that's full of burnt books and the remains of those horrible molten metal statues that are made out of real people. Walk on over to the concrete blockade thingy right next to this structure and you'll find a note that proves that DedSec, the hacker group from the Watch Dogs series, is now recruiting people in Yara too. Now, I'm not 100% sure why a group that's famous for being high-tech computer hackers would leave a physical copy of a typewritten note lying around, but hey-ho, who am I to judge? I work on the internet all day, but I still watch VHS tapes and I play on ZX Spectrums, so fair play to DedSec for championing physical media, I guess. As I was on my way to schnaffle one of Far Cry 6's many FND crates, I wandered around the corner of this beach in Cape Santa Maria and found a crab-infested bucket lying on top of a mound of sand. Shooting and destroying that bucket revealed a grim secret: the head of some poor individual who had been left there to die. This little slice of brutality looks to be a reference to the live-action Far Cry experience videos that were released prior to the launch of Far Cry 3, which featured Vars actor Michael Mando torturing Christopher Mintz-Plasse, aka Superbad's McLovin, in a variety of comical ways, whilst he was also buried up to his neck in the sand. One of these methods of torture featured a bucket being placed over Chris's head, but instead of crabs being placed inside, it was firecrackers instead, which is pretty dark if you ask me.
Chris!
During my playthrough of the main campaign, I was surprised at the lack of references to Far Cry 5, what with it being the previous game in the series and all, but that's because during my first playthrough I had completely skipped over one of the side missions called The Seeds of Love. During that mission, you have to find 7 of Lorenzo Canseco's children, and whilst all of them are pretty odd, the most interesting child has to be his daughter Riel, who, according to this note here, has recently purchased some moonflower seeds from a certain seed family. The moonflower is, of course, that white flower from Far Cry 5 that made people trip balls and was used to produce the drug Bliss. So, of course, when Danny has a sniff of the moonflower here that's in a pot decorated with the symbol for the seed family's Eden's Gate cult, they start hallucinating as green smoke and the apparition of Riel starts appearing. As Riel dances around, she starts talking about things like faith and seals being broken, but it's not until I mention her father that things get really weird, because in my game a bug made both characters speak at the same time, and then, well, I really did feel like I was on drugs.
Go.
I have a
Despite
letter
all
for
that you
you.
have done,
It's from
you
Lorenzo
are not beyond
Canseco,
salvation.
the father.
You are not here by
Your
accident
real
or by
father.
chance. Thank you for this letter. Everything is
you're
unfolding
welcome.
according to God's plan. I am still here with you. The first seal has been broken.
Okay, I'm out.
The final video game reference had been staring me in the face the whole time I played the game, but I only twigged it recently while I was messing around trying to capture something else. Next time you get a chance to whip out Danny's mobile phone, have a look at the icons on the screen and you should notice a familiar logo. That's right, just above the words Videojuegos, which is Spanish for video games, is the logo for Far Cry 6's developers, Ubisoft. I had to ask Zoe and Aoife for help with this next one because allegedly this note contains references to some kind of modern pop star named Rihanna, or Riri for short. Because Rihanna is not some kind of 90s grunge rock, I couldn't for the life of me tell you which songs this note references, but there's a lot of them in here, and one is definitely about that Umbrella Ella Ella song, but I only know about that because of that dance Spider-Man did on that TV show that time. But anyway, that's enough of me being old. You can find this note on the roof of a shack right next to the Punto Este Lighthouse in Isla Santuario. EO. EO, EO. Ella. 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 From the sound of music to the sound of Morse code next, as we travel to a power station in Lasagna for a secret message from the game's senior sound designer. The power station in question can be found just past this hotel complex, so drop in and float down to this transformer thingy, and if you listen very carefully, you should hear a series of bleeps.
Spread out. I want them found.
These bleeps were translated by eagle-eared Far Cry fans on Reddit, and according to them, the full message reads, "Cameron Britton is the greatest sound designer of all time." Which is a pretty good self-shout-out if you ask me. Now, I'd have tried translating this Morse code for myself, but I found it pretty hard to hear over the noise of all these FND pricks shooting at me and setting fire to everything. So you're gonna just have to take Reddit's word for this one.
Multiple bodies.
Size, I keep telling my wife, isn't everything, but in the case of this next Easter egg, smaller is definitely better. As part of the Yara story mission, Stealing Home, you'll need to recover some baseball-themed relics and return them to a tiny museum in the town of Feroza. These items are a catcher's mitt, a shirt, and a stinky old leather jockstrap, but thankfully it's only the shirt we have to take a closer look at. While the inscription plates on both the mitt and the penis protector are blank, it is possible to make out some tiny writing on the plate just below the shirt. And by using the most zoomiest of zoom scopes, it is actually possible to read those words. Something which, whoever made the original asset may have thought was impossible. Because as you can see here, it says, "This text is so small, you can't read it." Which is a blatant lie. Stop lying to me, video game. I see you. Okay friends, it's time for those of you who don't want to have a late game boss battle spoiled to turn off now. But don't forget to like and subscribe before you go. Everyone else, please wait for a couple more seconds and then we'll get on to the last egg on this list. Right, for those of you still with me, how's about a little Easter egg that helps prove my years-old theory video that Longinus from Far Cry 4 would end up in a future Far Cry game? Sort of. Right at the end of the Sean McKay boss battle, you're given a choice, to shoot Sean or not to shoot Sean. As Juan didn't want me to shoot him, I did the only thing that felt right at the time, which was to shoot him. But it turns out, if you don't shoot Sean, he'll just keep on chatting away to himself before pulling out his phone and calling two characters from past Far Cry games. One of those characters is Agent Willis, who, thanks to the corrections corner earlier, we know is now alive, because otherwise Sean would be talking to a ghost here, and that would be scary.
I'm happy you're late, Willis. It makes me look good. So, I got 2 ships full of WMDs and Viviro out of here for you.
The other character, though, is Longinus, who, near the end of Far Cry 4, told AJ that he would probably end up leaving Karat and going to Cuba, the real-world country that Far Cry 6's Yara is based on. And, as you can hear in this clip, Longinus did indeed make it down to Cuba's neck of the woods at some point before the events of Far Cry 6.
Longinus, baby, where have you been? You wouldn't believe this, but I'm in Yara, your old stomping grounds, buddy. Now listen, not sure if you're in the things that kill people game anymore, but I got some WMDs that you can make use of. You heading back to Karat anytime soon?
And there we go, that's another Easter egg video done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed this look at 17 more Far Cry 6 Easter eggs, but do check out my previous video if you haven't done already, as there's 27 more for you to witness packed in there. Plus, I've got a load of other Far Cry Easter egg videos for you to watch, and some of them are on screen and clickable right now. Thanks for watching, do like and subscribe for daily videos from Eurogamer if you haven't done so already, and do have yourself the best of days. Goodbye.